Anyway, so we'll get through. We'll just go all over the place today.
We've got a lot to cover.
We got a lot to cover. But the Canada thing is very interesting, obviously, because you said, like, you're from there, too. You've been pulling on this thread for a while. But last time when you were on episode 264 with me in the fall, well, I mean, we didn't put that out till January, but you told me about the time where you went into the fentanyl lab in Canada with a fixer.
Yeah.
So we went through that story. Refresh people on that, and then I want to know what you've kind of uncovered since then.
Okay, so last summer, I had a source who's a Sinaloa Cartel associate operating in Canada. Now, it's really important to keep in mind that for the longest time, Canada didn't have a strict visa requirement the way the U.S. did for Mexican nationals looking to just go into Canada on tourist visas. They didn't have to go through like an application process with payment. It was super simple. And so during Trump's first administration, the southern border started to kind of get locked down. And because it was so easy for these guys to get to Canada, they were like, all right, let's switch up how we're running operations. We can't take advantage of the southern border in the same way we once were. So let's go to the northern border. The Canadian border is one of the longest unprotected borders in the world. It's more than 5,000 miles. Right. And the American border is like a little bit over 2,000 miles. And you guys have a wall and just a lot of... Kind of, yeah. And there's and that also doesn't stop smuggling, because literally just a few weeks ago, this super state-of-the-art underground tunnel was found in El Paso, Juarez, that was smuggling a shit ton of drugs and people.
Can we pull that up?
You probably can.
Paso,
yeah, this just happened a few weeks ago, actually.
Interessante. Okay.
And so, basically, but the point of this is that the Canadian border is massive and it's largely unprotected. There are certainly some tech in place that, like thermal technology, whatever. There's CBP that are monitoring.
Like drones and stuff too?
Or?
No.
They don't have drones.
Wow.
And so this was going under the radar for so long, I would say since like 2016. And so then they moved operations up there, the cartels. They started to network with local Canadian criminal organizations and basically told them, look, we're here now. We have direct connections to the Chinese groups supplying the precursors. There are organized crime groups in Canada that are of predominantly Chinese heritage. So let's band together, up our profits, and up our global networks and our abilities to smuggle into the United States. So last summer, I get in touch with someone who's doing just that and has been for a couple of years, and basically told me that, you know, he's a little bit worried just because they're upping pill production, and that starts to draw a lot of attention. And we'll see that in a lot of like the seizures, whether that be in Canada or the US. Fentanyl pill seizures is like a big...
Fentanyl pills?
Yeah. It's like a big deal because it's worth a lot of money. You can... it's really efficient to traffic because you can just put these pills in a bunch of bags, you know, cover them up, lightweight, whatever you want to call it. It's not like trafficking a AK-47. A little harder to hide that up your ass. So they're not putting it up their ass. It's just, I'm just being facetious. But essentially, they moved into Canada. They started networking with local organized crime groups and started trafficking it into the U.S. through this largely unprotected border.
Dumb question. Sorry
Go ahead.
Stop you. But like when you say local organized crime groups in Canada, what does that look like?
The United Nations, Brothers Keepers, Hell's Angels, Red Scorpion. Those
you
are.
said the United Nations first?
It's called not the actual United. It's a gang called. Come on, get a clue, Julian.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, you just got all the delegates there sitting at the round table, decorum. Like, no.
I just think of Canada and it's like hockey and beer, and I can't picture like what their
and that's exactly part of the problem, right?
Yeah.
Because if you think of Canada and all you think about is hockey, beer, and what's like, thank you, sorry, hey. Then you don't think that a lot of fentanyl is being produced in Canada. Precursors are being trafficked into Canada, and then the fentanyl that's being produced there is being trafficked into the U.S.
Good cover.
And the numbers don't reflect that, because the numbers on both sides of the border are saying that less than 1% of the fentanyl in the United States is coming from Canada. And that is just untrue. And I don't say this as speculation. It's really important for me to mention that I have a source who I can't name, and so you can take it however you want. I mean, I don't really care. Completely legit source that specializes, he's law enforcement and specializes in organized crime and all of these criminal syndicates in Canada. And we talk regularly, and he tells me that maybe less than 1% is getting seized, but we certainly aren't contributing to less than 1% of the fentanyl in the U.S.
How did you cultivate that source? Are you
that source actually reached out to me
Interesting.
through a law enforcement person that I've interviewed on public record. So the person who I've spoken to on public record and named this person in reports put us in touch. So it's a complete legit person.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it.
And
when did that happen? When did he reach out?
Literally after I was on your podcast. Or after it aired.
Very cool.
Yeah, because it aired a little bit after we actually shot it.
Yeah. I held that one for like 2.5 months.
Too long, because then it was all dated by the time it came out. So you guys need to stop shitting on me.
We were okay. Sometimes we you've seen it. Sometimes
we were okay,
gotta film when people are in town, and then it's like, I have one that's evergreen and then one that's got to get out right away.
I don't need the whole spiel, Julian. It's fine.
I'm sorry.
I
gotta explain
I accept
myself,
it. It's fine.
You know.
Anyways.
Women need an explanation. It's
just us? Have you? Okay, yeah. You're really going to start that right now? I didn't realize I got invited to Andrew Tate show.
Oh, God. No.
Here we go again with this shit.
We're not like that here. We're not the Tate pill.
On the fentanyl note. So they started making all this shit. And it was really simple for them because they have this open border. And they have a lot of people who were looking for extra cash because the Canadian economy is just simply objectively not doing well and hasn't been since COVID. Maybe even before that. I mean, people can argue whatever they want. And so there were a lot of people who were willing to be mules. And also, along a lot of the Canadian border region, there are people who own light aircrafts. And yeah, so it made it very simple for them to fly across. Or if they had like a racer, like a 4x4, is that what you call it? Like a quadrimoto?
Yeah, like a quad.
Yeah, a quad. Yeah. I feel like Hilaria Baldwin be like, how do you...
I was born in Mexico.
How do you say cucumber in English? That's not what I'm doing. There's just so many ways to say that. A 4x4, right?
Man, I understand Alec Baldwin so much better since I've understood what she's up to.
Oh my God, poor guy.
Poor guy.
It's rough over there.
It.
No. I watched a little bit of the show and I was like, it looks like hell on earth. Hell no. Oh my God. Bury me alive instead. Anyways, so there's people who own light aircrafts. There's people who own 4x4s because it's a lot of like farmland and residential areas. And so a lot of these people are getting hired, and they're making to run like whatever the batch is, like a batch of fentanyl, however many pills were produced in like a batch that they want to traffic, upwards of $150,000. Yeah, Canadian. So that's like...
What's
you'd have to, around 100,000.
Yeah.
I think I can't do the math off the top of my head. I'm a journalist.
It's all good.
So
close enough.
Anyways, they're making a shit ton of cash. They're operating basically under the radar because, like you said, what's Canada? Beers and hockey. So you wouldn't think that you have these regular schmegular people running $150,000 worth. Well, maybe not worth, but they're making $150,000 to run a full batch of fentanyl pills into the U.S. They're literally just driving across or flying across or riding across the border, or even in some cases walking across. In one of my episodes of the Dispatches, I literally went to an open border area where I'm standing there, and on one side I'm standing on Canadian grass, and right behind me you can literally just walk. There's a bit of a ditch, but you could just hop across and you're in the US. Like, it just so happened that I actually came across a CBP officer when I was there, which so funny because there's so many miles of
What are the chances?
But also any sort of oversight or monitoring that there is, at least from my observations, it's coming from the American side. And it's simply due to the fact that the Canadian law enforcement just doesn't have the resources to deal with it. I mean, okay, I say this time and time again, and we actually talked about this last time I was here. I have no faith in the Canadian justice system because they don't even have the capacity to deal with domestic crime. So how could we possibly expect them to deal with transnational organized crime?
What were you telling me outside before the podcast?
That
like
was that was a dramatization, but certainly it's like. But you could like Google a case right now. Bring something up. Seriously, bring something up of like a violent sex offender who gets like a few months of probation and is back out in the community.
In Canada.
Yes, it's so bad. I mean, people are committing violent crimes and walking free, and these are Canadian citizens, and it's.
Is that a recent, like in the last 10 years phenomenon?
Yeah.
What do you think that is?
The government. Like it was the prime minister that we had, and the way everything just kind of
Trudeau.
Yeah. And I don't vote. So I don't participate in politics. I'm like just I have my beliefs and I just go with that, whatever. It's not a reflection of a certain political party. But at the end of the day, I believe in like justice, right? Yeah. And that was a big reason. We talked about this too, why I stopped doing journalism in Canada, because I felt like it was like child murder after child murder and all this up stuff. Granny gets pushed onto the train tracks, breaks both her arms, and Buddy is picked up by the cops and out in like a few weeks. And I just couldn't deal with that, because you can only do so much of that before you start to go insane.
Sure.
And so anyways, now you have this big beast in Canada of cartels operating there with organized crime groups that were operating with no problem. And now you add cartels into that mix. Be so for real. You really think, let me give a great example of this, okay? And this really stood out to me, and I hope I can get it across. When the head of the RCMP a few weeks or months ago was questioned, how many individual organized crime groups are operating currently in Canada? I don't know off the top of my head. Keep in mind that prior to this, CSIS, which is basically Canadian like intelligence, had released a report detailing organized crime groups operating in Canada. Okay, just keep that in mind. So also for viewer context, RCMP is our national police force, the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, and the head of this police force is being asked how many. So he, I don't know, kind of stumbling. The question is clarified. Could you give us maybe a ballpark number of how many individual organized crime groups there are in Canada right now? Off the top of my head, maybe 4,000.
4,000.
4,000 says that number.
Whoa.
Deadass. And the viewers are going to hate that language. And they hate when I do that. And then, so the person who's asking goes, okay, 4,000? With 4,000 individual organized crime groups with their own individual leadership and networks. And he says, yeah, about 4,000. That CSIS report that had just come out detailed 668 organized crime groups. So how the do you expect Canadian law enforcement to tackle a problem that they don't even have proper intel or communications on?
4,000 sounds crazy.
And so blown out of proportion compared to 668. Also, I mean, let's be so for real for a moment. If 4,000 individual organized crime groups were operating in Canada, that's like gangland.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
Oh, it's nuts, yeah.
4,000, like the world would know about that. Like, be so for real right now. There's not even 4,000 individual cartels operating in Mexico. And you're trying to tell me that there's 4,000 OCGs in Canada? Oh, come on. Like, I couldn't even wrap my head around that answer. I was like, resign right now.
Yeah.
But, so this is a huge problem. And it's feeding the fentanyl crisis. And I know that this doesn't get clicks, but the point is, the reason why this has become an issue, the cartels and the fentanyl, is because so many tens of thousands of people are dying on an annual basis. And
more than that.
More than that. Yeah. Okay, if we're talking in the context, right?
Yeah.
So in COVID, actually, in Canada, in BC, which is the West Coast, the province that Vancouver is in.
British Columbia?
Yes.
See, I know my shit.
Good job. Yeah. You could be basically Canadian.
4.5 gold stars.
Welcome over. So this is basically where the cartel started their operations, and that's because we have the Port of Vancouver. And now, if you want an accurate less than 1% number, less than 1% of all cargo that's coming into the Port of Vancouver is searched. Yep. Let that sink in, everyone.
Less than 1%. How's that even? I mean, it's a port. It's got customs there. Mm-hmm. How do we know that number?
Because it's a legit number Find it. Source it.
Yeah, let's do that. I believe you. So
and if I'm wrong, delete that. But I swear I'm right.
Port of
Vancouver,
1%
of cargo. How much? What percentage of cargo is being searched?
Do we know what's causing that incompetency at all, or just? Yeah, there it is. The claim. It cannot be confirmed or denied.
Well, I'm confirming it.
While the search results discuss that doesn't say you're wrong. Discuss Port of Vancouver operations, cargo statistics, and drug seizures. They do not include the overall cargo search rate. The Canada Border Systems Agency performs customs exams on shipments, often based on algorithms and risk factors. All right, so they're already dumbing it down and saying like, all right, we're only going to check these ones.
But it is less than 1% because I discussed this number with my organized crime law enforcement guy, and he's like, yes. And he gave me 100% yes.
Okay.
It's less than 1%. And it makes perfect sense because if you have that many people dying of fentanyl, so this is what I was getting to, is that during COVID, more people were dying of fentanyl overdose deaths than they were of COVID, to the point where the provincial health officer of British Columbia cried during one of her press conferences because of the sheer amount of people that were dying due to fentanyl. Oh, look at that. CBS. Yeah. I used to work there. Everyone gives me shit for that, but I'm independent now.
Here we go. BC mayor sounds alarm over rampant crime at local port as expansion looms.
And that's from 2 years ago.
Says CBSA checks less than 1% of container traffic coming through regional ports.
Yep. There you go.
Yeah.
So, one thing I'm not is a liar. Anyway. You can call me whatever you want, but not that.
You're not a liar. I know that.
So.
You're working hard. I got it.
Thank you. Anyways, so, this is like a huge problem. And the Canadian government was truly not doing anything to crack down about it, even though we knew this was a fucking crisis.
Right.
Because you have people dying at this rate. There should be some sort of swift and immediate crazy response.
I mean, we can't talk here in America either because we had this all fucked. We still have it all fucked up as well. I mean, we have literal cities like Kensington, and I forget the one out in San Francisco, what it's called. Do you know
would
what
know.
It's called?
Wait, what?
What's the fentanyl crisis area in San Fran?
In San Francisco.
You're from the Bay Area.
Yeah, I just heard it for the first time myself the other day. I can't even remember.
Actually, no, I honestly don't know.
That's
you guys
okay.
don't have to.
It's like a lot of.
It's like a Kensington, but like we have these.
Okay, but
throughout America as well.
The problem is the slap in the face that comes with. Yeah, it's a problem everywhere, which is why everyone's trying to crack down on this shit. The problem lies within the fact that Canada did nothing until Trump was threatening tariffs and to shut down the border. And then, okay, now we're going to implement a fentanyl czar. Okay, now we're going to look at our border. Not because thousands of Canadians were dying from this deadly opioid.
Politics.
Yeah, that's bullshit.
It's total bullshit.
It's bullshit.
That's how they are.
And then they make this guy the fentanyl czar. Make me the fentanyl czar, for fuck's sakes. You guys were denying for the longest time. No, I'm not even joking about this. Because you guys were denying for the longest time when I was first doing the reporting on cartels in Canada and the production of fentanyl domestically, and I was reaching out to RCMP, and I'm trying to get information. I'm literally having police tell me to my face, if this was really happening, we would know about it. There's no cartels. We don't have any cases to use as examples for you to tell you that we have made arrests or shut down fentanyl labs in connection with Mexican cartels. Why? Not because it doesn't exist, but because they're not gathering that data.
Yeah, you've been there. I mean, it's like
I literally
crazy.
wanted to say, well, I'm going there tomorrow.
You want to come with?
No, literally, but I'm not a fucking narc. But it's so funny because I get the response, the press response, and it's like, well, there's no cartels, no. And I'm like, well, I have this Mexican guy from Sinaloa who's literally like, yeah, I'll come show you the fentanyl production tomorrow.
Now, how again are the cartel guys getting... So, I would imagine some of them are maybe literally coming through the Port of Vancouver, but are
no, they're
a lot
flying.
of them...
They were flying.
So, they're flying.
It was no problem.
They're flying from Mexico to Canada and no problem.
It was no problem. They were because of the visa requirement. But now there is a visa requirement. It just got re-implemented, I want to say a little over a year ago. And so now there's more checks and balances. It'll be a little bit harder because they want to know, okay, what are you coming for? How much money do you have on you? They have to check you before you even get on that flight. So, but for the longest time, it was no problem. And also because Canada was beers and hockey. Nobody thought that the cartels were going to move their operations up north. That's exactly the perfect fucking recipe for that for that to happen.
Great cover.
I would have done the same thing. Yeah, it's genius business model. So
Yeah, we have to stop. Like, it's so easy to just be like, oh, these criminals and these criminal organizations, but like, you know, you don't want to give them credit because they're terrible people. But
Yeah, but I
like,
give them credit.
They're fucking smart. They know what they're doing.
They run it like a Fortune 500.
Yes.
And it's international. And I'm not being a spokesperson for the cartels being like, hoorah, look at how they go. And my reporting reflects that.
Oh, I know.
Thanks.
Yeah.
But you can certainly say, yeah, they're fucking killing it. Literally. Sorry.
That got dark fast.
Yeah, but you appreciate that, so it's okay. I can be like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, the Canadian thing is a major problem, and I'll keep reporting on it because I personally think it's just going to continue to get worse because the southern border at this point, well, the border, your guys' borders says that it's 96% locked down, which
Tom Homan's saying it's 96% locked down.
Yeah.
My bullshit meter's going up. Sorry,
That's what
Tom.
I said.
Yeah.
I said, sorry, I'm yelling into
You're
it.
good.
I said, how do you even quantify that? But I guess you can, like, by seizures and stuff. But let's be so for real. If that El Paso tunnel, which, can you guys pull that up? You didn't pull that up.
The El Paso tunnel? I think we did, but you got off it.
Sorry.
Yep.
Okay, so let's take a look at this.
El Paso, federal partners discover
January
major cross-border.
14th.
Okay, special agents with Homeland Security investigations, El Paso along the U.S. border uncovered a sophisticated cross-border tunnel. On January 8th, HSI El Paso is leading the investigation to prosecute those responsible.
Show the tunnel.
Upon excavation of the Smuggling tunnel, it has been determined that the tunnel extends under the United States-Mexico border into the Boone Street storm drain in the El Paso area, approximately 4 feet across and 6 feet in height. The tunnel is held up by 2x4 wood beams and is equipped with electricity, ventilation system, and
electricity and ventilation.
Within the last year, HSI El Paso is working closely with HSI Juarez. They seem like real straight shooters. Who is coordinating with the government of Mexico to ensure the man-made tunnel from El. They're probably coordinating with the fucking Chapo of the cartel. Like, yeah, no, we got this.
We'll supply the ventilation supplies. But show the tunnel. Is there's an inside picture. Try to find an inside picture of it because it looks insane.
Yeah, that's outside right there. So El Paso tunnel inside. I remember seeing, I feel like I saw this. I hope I'm thinking of the right one. Remember when El Chapo got out of prison and they showed like the
tunnel.
Was that? They showed the motorcycle with the it was like the motorcycle tracks and rail?
Yes. And like, because he did it through under the jail.
And he had a ventilation system.
He had everything.
Yeah.
And also like.
White glove service.
They had legit, what?
White glove service. He was the boss.
Yeah. He had legit architects building that for him.
Oh, I bet he did.
Yeah, obviously.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. That's it.
Whoa.
Look.
Is that the one on the right side you're looking for?
That is the one. Make it big.
It's like a fucking Hamas tunnel. Do we have it? View all photos. Okay, that's the outside.
So that's how you go.
There.
Look at that.
Is that the ventilation? Yeah, look at that.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're telling me it's 96% secured? Bro.
Yeah, no shot.
No
he looks like he's having the toughest day at all times. Like Tom Homan, he just looks tired.
Okay,
he looks like he's been in a bad
for
marriage for, I don't know who his wife is, but he looks like he's a dude who's been stuck in a
Can
bad
you bring
marriage
up
for
him?
like 30
Can you bring
years.
him up with his wife, please, so we can
don't.
talk shit?
Don't. He's just always like, we're gonna stop the crime coming across the borders, and
he's over it.
If you break into this country, you're going out. That's it.
You're going to El Salvador.
That's it. El Salvador.
One-way ticket.
So you were bringing this up because this one was in El Paso, and what were they smuggling?
Drugs and people.
And people.
Yeah. Human smuggling.
What is that? Children?
Yeah, it's anything. There's a huge problem with unaccompanied minors illegally crossing the border.
Unaccompanied, meaning they're just coming with a coyote.
By themselves, yes. Just imagine, like, I don't want to talk about it because I don't like this shit, but just imagine, like, what that can lead to.
Oh, it's horrible.
Literally, actually, Jorge did this crazy report on how there was this little girl. She was, I think, 10 years old alone. All she had was, like, a phone number.
Yeah.
And they called that phone number because, like, the group that she was with and the coyote got picked up by ICE, I think, or CBP. And then they called that phone number and the mom was, like, freaking out, like, hoping that the daughter was just still alive, like, just hoping for the best. I mean, I don't have kids, but if I did, there's no way. I don't even think any level of desperation, but I also don't want to say that because I don't know. But that's just that's child abuse. And so they're going through those tunnels, but then allegedly it's 96% secure. But I don't even know how you would quantify that. That's like this, to me, that number is the same number as like less than 1% of fentanyl in the States is coming from Canada. I just don't buy it. Because I've seen it.
You can't fix that. I'm sorry. It's been, 5 months, 6 months, whatever. You can't fix a completely open, however many thousands of miles it is, border, which is effectively what we had. The southern border.
Oh, yeah, it's like 2,000 something.
Right yeah. Mm-hmm. You're not fixing, like, an entire broken system.
Across 4 states? For real.
No, that's not.
That's vast.
It is vast.
And desert.
Yeah,
we're just playing word games now.
No,
vast,
seriously.
desert, dry.
Yeah, and like you have valleys and rivers and all this shit, and you have a system that's been in place with these cartels knowing where to go and how to get people there. And it's not like you can just have like a line, like, of holding hands of like Homeland Security people or Border Patrol people standing at the border. It's not how it works.
But then also on the Mexican side, the president, Claudia Sheinbaum, deployed additional couple thousand troops to the Mexican side of the border because that also, as Trump came into office, became a priority for her for the bilateral actions to lock down the border.
What happened? They had talks. Trump was going to put tariffs on.
Yeah, and he did it anyways.
He did, but then he pulled them off.
It was like, that was a crazy news day for me.
Yeah, what happened there again?
It was like one day, I think it was, he said, I'm going to put tariffs on if they don't lock down the border. She deploys an additional, I think, 11,000 troops, something like that. Yeah. Deploys, but then 10,000. But then I think she increased that. And then...
This is February 6th.
Yeah. So then he says, whatever. She does that. He said, I'm going to do tariffs. Lock it down. She does what she can to lock it down, I guess. And then he puts tariffs. And then she's like, I'm going to respond to the tariffs on Sunday. And I think that gave like a couple days in between when he put the tariffs on and when she was going to respond to it. In that time, he ended up rescinding the tariffs. That sounds so complicated. I'm sorry. That was also a crazy work week for me. It was like boom, 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 radio hits. Yeah. And so then he took the tariffs off. I don't even know where we're in the state. Like, what is it right now? Do we have tariffs or not?
The tariffs thing is happening in so many countries at the same time.
It's
and
so
some
confusing.
Are on, some are off. It's like, I'm almost just like watching the stock market and saying, well, I guess we have less up today, Like if it's up.
It's a crazy ride.
Yeah.
And so a lot of Mexican people were obviously pissed because then it was like, well, I'm speaking on behalf of the Mexican population here, but I was seeing a lot of the rhetoric and speaking to a lot of people. And Mexican government did kind of do their part in trying to lock down the border. In my opinion, they did more than Canada did in locking down the border. And
Mexico.
Yeah. And I think that's why Trump was like, he was attacking Canada a lot more than he was attacking Mexico with the whole like, what was he saying, that Canada is going to become another state? And so, but he wasn't saying that about Mexico. And I think, take all of that type of shit with a grain of salt. But at the end of the day, I really do think it was because, especially now, Kash Patel is saying it publicly, but they knew, or at least they were looking for that issue that was happening with the trafficking at the northern border. And so when Claudia Sheinbaum took the efforts to try to help with those bilateral efforts to lock down that southern border, it was like American, like federal administration could be like, okay, this is happening. And well, now borders are saying it's working. 96% of it is shut down or locked down.
You might have changed a 5 to a 9.
Yeah, I'd say like give or take, right?
Give or take 4.
But in Canada, it remains a large problem. And I don't think it's going to stop just because, honestly, and this is what even my law enforcement sources tell me, Canadian law enforcement, you don't need a source to believe this. Just doesn't have the resources to deal with something of this nature. And recently...
It's also new to them.
But it's not.
It's not... This isn't built 50, 60 years into their law enforcement background. Like, this is something really over probably the last decade, you might say.
And also, it was kind of... I almost felt like their reactions to this, especially if you look at, like, recent seizure reports, it almost seems like they want to kind of ignore the problem and see if it just kind of dies down on its own or if
Yeah,
the world doesn't notice.
Good strategy.
Right?
That'll work out.
And so one thing that really stood out to me when I knew it was a problem over this past year because I've been like really focused on it. But about a month ago, a bunch of WhatsApp group chats for certain cartels were leaked, recruitment group chats. And I had actually gotten into some cartel.
They let you in it?
Well, they didn't fucking know it was me, Julian. Sorry, that was so aggressive.
Continue.
Anyways, I got into some WhatsApp cartel recruitment group chats. And
he poses like a 16-year-old boy.
I'm not telling you who I posed as.
Okay. I'm just saying, maybe you did.
You know what? Let me tell you exactly how I did it then, right now.
Yeah, they're not going to guess which
viewers
group
at
chat
home,
it
you
was.
want to get in? Yeah, go subscribe to my Substack. That's next, baby. So basically, it was in these tell me why in one of the group chats that I was in and in some of the leaked chats. Right away, first thing that stood out to me, Canadian area codes were in those group chats. And then, okay, so I clocked that, right? Holy fuck. There's Canadians. I don't know if they're Mexican Canadians,
people on the ground,
Mexican nationals living in Canada. I don't know.
Hey guys, if you haven't already subscribed, please hit that subscribe button. It's a huge, huge help. Thank you.
There are Canadians, though, or people with Canadian phone numbers who are trying to be recruited into Mexican cartels. And I'm like, no fucking way. But okay. So a little bit of time passes by. A few weeks go by. I have a guy tell me and show me that he was offered $55,000 to take out hits in Canada for the cartels. Yes. And I'm like, this is exactly the type of motherfucker that's in those group chats.
Yeah.
And he's Canadian as fuck from the East Coast. Born and raised. Lived in Colombia for a little while, then made his way to Mexico. And keep in mind
that... he lived in Colombia. You got indoctrinated. Yeah.
Well, also, like, Mexican drug cartels have so many ties in Colombia.
Oh, sure.
So you go to Colombia, you're basically in direct contact with the cartels. And then you go to Mexico, and then you go back to Canada. Quebec, I'm going to burn it. I'm going to say he went back to Quebec. Because I'm going to, like, one thing is for sure. In Canada, a lot of the fentanyl production and precursor trafficking is happening on the West Coast. On the East Coast, it's where they're directly hiring Canadian nationals to work for them as enforcers, whether that's like hitmen or...
Why on the East Coast?
I don't know, but that's just how they're doing it. I haven't asked yet.
But all their distribution and stuff is happening on the West Coast.
Yeah, but they want to have control across the board. But keep in mind, because we have the Port of Vancouver, so that's where that fentanyl precursor stuff is going to come in. But then, of course, you have people... It's going both ways. It's going across the board. But the main things that are happening on the East Coast are hiring these people, and also this leads into the why, is because most of the straw buying, so arms trafficking of guns from the U.S. into Canada is happening at the East Coast because right there you have Michigan and New York. So
that makes sense.
Yeah. So because also for viewer understanding, we have really strict gun policy in Canada. So straw buying is happening in Canada the same way it's happening in Mexico. You have Americans that are bringing in American manufactured arms into Canada and into Mexico. And we know this is a fact. We know that American guns are arming the cartels because over 70% of arms that are found at Mexican crime scenes are American made. And the Mexican government actually just lost a Supreme Court case against American manufacturers to be able to sue them for arming the cartels directly.
Now, does some of this go back? I mean, obviously, like the famous one is like Operation Fast and Furious and stuff like that.
Yes. Yeah.
So does it go back to that, but also other traceable covert operations that maybe we don't know about?
Likely.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And so...
I'd be pissed about that down there. You kidding me? Fuck yeah.
But then people say, well, it's the job of like Mexican border authorities to make sure those guns aren't coming through.
Yeah, but fuck that. If we're doing it, that's wrong.
Huh.
No, it is.
I didn't think you'd have that take.
Of course I'd have that take. Listen, we do some fucked up shit sometimes. And like now here's the thing. I understand, like, with national security, sometimes there's, like, a bigger picture.
Yeah.
And you got to crack a few eggs to make an omelet. But there's just some stuff where it doesn't go down right with me when you see, I don't give a fuck where it is, whether it's here or somewhere else, where you see innocent women and kids get caught in the middle of it. You know, like, and that's my taxpayer money going to that. And I do feel a certain type of way about that.
Yeah. So that's basically across the board. Canada has a major issue. They have a ton of cartels, and I was going to say, and so does Mexico. Yeah, no shit. Like, trying to close that thought.
Now, here's what's interesting, though.
Yeah.
Since you were last here, Trump got reelected, he got into office, and they declared a terrorism designation on the cartels.
Foreign terrorist organizations. So now cartels are basically the same as ISIS, Al-Qaeda, Taliban, whatever, you name it.
So before we go to Mexico with that and how that works, if the cartels are operating in Canada, a country on our north border that we have a friendly relationship with on a lot of stuff, how does our terrorism policy apply to us litigating that potentially in Canada?
Well, Canada followed suit and declared them FTOs right after the U.S. did.
Oh.
Yeah, so that changes the game a bit. The one thing is, though, I'm fairly certain that I don't think any associates in Canada are going to actually be charged as foreign terrorists.
That's what I'm saying. They can't. You were just telling me they can't even handle it at a law enforcement level.
But they're doing
the
this.
government's going to handle it at a military terrorism level?
So for real, right?
Yeah.
And then actually the U.S. just charged the first person under this act. A woman in El Paso, this was like 2 weeks ago, a woman in El Paso who was straw buying and had conspiracy to traffic for the Jalisco New Generation cartel. She's the first person now who's been charged as I think it's with, it's like material to aid. Here, yeah, because it's a little bit like court talk, lots of jargon.
Mexican woman indicted in El Paso on reportedly providing grenades, firearms.
Why are you guys acting surprised?
To cartels. An indictment unsealed on Friday, if we could scroll down, Deef, in El Paso is the first in the nation to charge a Mexican national with providing material support to a designated foreign terrorist organization based on her involvement with the Cartel del Jalisco.
De Jalisco Nueva Generación.
Right, including providing the cartel with grenades and engaging in smuggling, firearms trafficking, bulk cash smuggling, and narcotics trafficking on its behalf, according to court documents.
Maria del
Rosario Navarro Sanchez, 39 of Mexico. No, I will not sign up for that. Conspired with others to provide and did not attempt to provide grenades. Did attempt to provide grenades to CJNG, a designated foreign terrorist organization.
You're like those kids in school. Remember when like the teacher would randomly call on you to read, and when that one kid would go, you're like, "Fuck, not this kid." Like stutters over here. Jesus, pick me instead. I'll read the whole fucking book if you want.
You're lucky it's late. I'm letting you get away with all these. It's been a long day.
You deserve it. You know, no one gives you shit, so it's good.
No one gives me shit? Oh
Who gives you shit?
Oh, you
on the show?
You should read the internet. On the show? Yeah, sure, all the time we bullshit.
Beat them up.
That's what we do, back and forth. It's fun. I
like it. I'll go all FTO on their ass.
That's right. I bet you what. You're tough. You're definitely tough. But you have to be to do what you do.
Yeah.
You
I'm not gonna be a bitch.
You gotta have brass balls. To
Thank
be
you.
22 when you did.
Okay, I'm 24.
20, I know, but like when you first went to do it.
Yeah.
And be like, I'm going to go move down to Sinaloa and cover the cartels.
It wasn't like that. I also didn't live in Sinaloa.
Whatever. You went down to Mexico and you're covering, let's call it what it is, like the worst of the worst.
Basically.
Takes a lot of guts.
Yeah, but it's like, I still have fear sometimes, but we just overcome it for the sake of free press and telling a good story and making sure people's voices are heard.
It's a good attitude to have. I like it.
Yeah.
So, but on the terrorism designation, what is the strategy? Like, this was a national who was arrested in El Paso. Okay, that makes sense. She's in America. Easy. You pick her up. She has grenades. Cool. On the other side of the border, though, there's a sovereign government that runs that country.
Yes.
And now there's groups in there that our government has said they're terrorists. Are we going to, start drone striking them in the hills of Sinaloa?
Not yet.
How's this working, and what's been the reaction in Mexico to it?
Okay, first of all, the strategy is to attack the financial pipelines and the assets that are based in America, because most of these people who are associated with or operating for the cartels have most of their money in the United States through shell companies, properties, whatever you name it, and like laundering money through the US. So if they can't clean their money, they don't have money. And if you target the financial pipeline of the cartels, that's immediately how you dismantle them, basically. Well, in my opinion, it's like objectively, it's the the way you dismantle a criminal organization. No money, no power.
Right.
So that's the objective of this. It's not necessarily like the drone strikes and like getting tier 1 operators, boots on the ground, let's fuck them up. However, it could potentially be getting to that point. Why? And this also leads into your next question about the Mexican reaction. There has been this kind of covert bilateral operations that have been going on between U.S. law enforcement and Mexican authorities. So just a few weeks ago, for example, ICE tweeted about 3 fentanyl lab raids in Sinaloa. And the picture, it's Mexican forces, but for some reason, I guess it was because ICE tweeted it and the way they looked, I think someone had an American flag patch, something like that. People were like, holy fuck, there's American boots on the ground conducting these operations in Mexico. And people freaked out, and ICE clarified, and they were like, no, between American intelligence and Mexican authorities, we conducted this operation together. And so there are also, so that's actually the photo.
You want me to read this tweet?
You don't have, well, I kind of explained it already, but yeah, so you can see it's ICE HSI has been working closely with FGR, AIC, Sedena, and Marina to identify drug precursor shipments from China and take out drug production labs by the cartels in Mexico. This was particularly in Sinaloa. You see 3 large-scale synthetic labs were seized, shut down. And then this photo, this tweet for some reason led to some sort of, it wasn't actually this tweet. This is the clarification. I don't even think the original is up anymore. It led to some sort of weird confusion of people thinking that, oh my God, U.S. boots are on the ground here. Like, let's go, war zone. But I find that, like, between that operation, between all of the CIA planes flying over, they have Mexico's permission, over northern Mexican states.
Wait, CIA planes are flying over northern Mexican
we can track
states
them right now.
Openly right now?
Yep. You can literally watch them live.
I mean, obviously we know the CIA is all over Mexico. I just don't hear about them, like, announcing their fucking flight plans.
It's definitely like a... Hey,
but obviously it's open
doing,
enough that we're talking about it on a fucking podcast.
But that's what I'm saying. It's like, hey, look at this. We're being open about it. What the fuck else is going on?
Yeah.
Then they docked this like major military vessel at the port of Veracruz in Mexico. And it was just like all of this stuff was happening at once that I do believe, and I talked about this at the beginning of the FTO designation, but now it's like it's slowly leading into that, hey, American boots could eventually get on the ground in Mexico. And I'm not trying to fearmonger or sensationalize this. It just appears that way based on the current way they're running operations to dismantle the cartels or attempt to. Also, this certainly started before Trump. I mean, we always we could talk about fucking CIA and cartels all day long.
Oh my God, it's.
But we're not getting into that.
It's like as American as apple pie.
Yeah, truly, and as American as Cracker Barrel, which we love, by the way.
Have you seen my episodes of Matt Hedger?
No, I don't watch any of your episodes. Boring.
Thank you. I'm glad.
Kidding.
That's very nice of you. But I had him on for 275 and 290. And the only reason he can talk publicly is because a foreign intelligence organization outed his cell. There was a leak. And they outed him on the dark web a year and a half ago, and he actually had to be pulled. And he can't go to a lot of countries anymore. But he was a CIA knock, where his job, meaning non-official cover, his job was to be an international criminal, a money launderer. And he ended up getting into the cartels as one of their chief money launderers. And he was the guy who flipped he couldn't say which bank, but a top 10 bank and a top 10 banker at that bank, a normal guy, flipped him to start money laundering for the cartels. And point being, he's one example that we get to hear from, who's like a piece on the chessboard on this huge board that has a lot of moving pieces on all different shit around the world. But he's one piece we get to hear from to show that it's like, whether you agree with it or not is a whole different question. But the CIA and other organizations as well, espionage organizations around the world, are willing to use organizations like the cartels, not stop them, not investigate them, not doing anything to them, literally leverage them to get to be access points for other things related to national security.
For sure.
And it's like, holy fuck, the moral implications of
that.
It's fucked.
I know, I agree. And that's a big thing too with what we're seeing right now in Sinaloa. Oh, El Mayo, a leader of one of the factions of the Sinaloa cartel, somehow ends up in the U.S. Now he's, facing trial or whatever it is. And
do you have have you heard some new information there?
no, that's
It's
in
so
limbo.
bizarre,
I know.
right?
Yeah.
It's so under wraps.
It's so under wraps, and then it just keeps getting weirder because then they get him over there, and then it's like a whole fucking hydra here because they get him over there, and then there's all this infighting, and you slowly are seeing or have seen the Sinaloa cartel dismantling itself, and then
wait, it's dismantling itself because of this.
Okay, wait, yeah, and
Yeah,
then.
yeah. Okay.
Jalisco cartel, the New Generation cartel is like.
You're on one today. It's funny.
Is that bad?
No, it's
She's
good.
been saying that.
It's good. You're
she says
on
I'm
one
like
today.
cracked out.
No,
You're
you're
like
doing
ready
good.
to go. You're doing good.
Yeah, I know you're doing good.
fine. I'm playing right
Actually,
into it.
too, lately, I don't know. It's like I'm trying to like I'm getting it all out, but everyone lately thinks I'm on drugs. Like on all the dispatches, and they're definitely gonna think I'm on one on your
They
podcast.
think you're on. No.
People, because of my jaw, because my jaw's crooked, so people are like, she's definitely rolling on Molly, or she like popped a perk, or she's...
No. That's not what I mean when I say you're on one.
No, like,
Man, you
you're
just took that
you're
to a
doing
whole
good.
different level.
Oh yeah, because see, I mean,
means
I
you're
have it
on one,
internalized.
like, the
Yeah.
attitude's turned on. Like, bitch, I'm talking. Let's go.
Yes.
And you fucking interrupted it. Okay, no.
Yes, I did. I'm sorry. I just had to make
okay.
that point.
I don't do drugs. Okay. So, yeah, it's like a hydra because basically what happens is they get LMI. Okay, fuck. Laugh it out. Let it out, guys.
We're good.
I love funny men.
Okay.
Okay.
It was a hydra.
Yeah.
That's what you were saying.
So basically they get El Mayo into the States. The Sinaloa cartel is like, there's so much infighting. They're literally like, we'll label them inactive. Like they're just dismantling themselves. Next thing you know, Jalisco cartel is obviously, they've been powerful since their initiation, like 2010. They're one of the most violent, I think the DEA actually calls them one of the most violent and expansionist cartels ever. And because they have just managed to garner so much power across all 32 states in Mexico. And so then you hear that, CJ&G is actually going to align with the Chapitos faction of the cartel. Next thing you know, family members of El Chapo end up crossing the TJ San Diego border and now have visas in the U.S. and can stay there because they need to be safe. Yes. This just happened. Pull it up.
Yeah, no, I know. I'm not looking at you like I don't believe you. I'm just like, holy shit.
It's crazy.
How close are these family members? Like cousins?
Yeah. Cousins, aunts, whatever.
Who were a part of the organization?
Well, allegedly not. They're just yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe you.
Let's be fucking for real.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyways, this happened. So now you got them in the States. Now you have his son facing, Ovidio has a plea deal.
So we got this article right up. 17 members of a cartel kingpin's family were escorted into California from Mexico. Why? Okay. So Mexico security chief confirmed reports that this is May 13, 2025.
Yeah, told you just now.
Yep. Confirmed reports that relatives of drug kingpin Joaquin El Chapo Guzman were allowed to enter San Diego. Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum complained that U.S. authorities had failed to notify their Mexican counterparts about the operation.
Yes.
Key pillars of the Trump administration's policy towards Mexico involve large-scale deportations and crackdown on cartels, but reports in the Mexican media suggest the U.S. authorities recently orchestrated the secret cross-border move of at least 17 relatives of Mexico's most notorious drug kingpin, Joaquin El Chapo Guzman, co-founder of the Sinaloa cartel, to California on Wednesday. Mexican President Sheinbaum, clearly frustrated, said U.S. authorities had, I'd be pissed if I were her too, had failed to notify their Mexican counterparts of what appeared to be a highly choreographed operation by Washington to transport the drug lord's extended family across the border from Tijuana to San Diego. We are doing our work to fight drug trafficking, Sheinbaum said. The issue is what information is out there and how do they explain this? They have to give information. Various social media sites have circulated images purporting to show El Chapo's kin lugging rolling suitcases they waited to enter the United States last week at the San Ysidro border crossing connecting Tijuana and San Diego. In a radio interview Tuesday, Omar Garcia Harfuch, Mexico's security chief, confirmed that the move took place. Imagine this call from like Trump to Homan, like, listen, we're going to let him in. He was probably
Pissed. That's why he's always fucking stressing.
Yeah,
He's like, I just said the
Sir,
border is
sir.
96% secure.
Sir, we can't let El Chapo in. No, it's not El Chapo.
It's his family. There's kids, there's women and children.
There has to be, that's what I mean. That has to be a part of like it's
a plea deal thing.
Of course.
Yes. So then you have, wait, hold on. Why did we get to this? Because, wait, what was the whole point of
video?
me? No, wait, stop. There was a reason why I was explaining every single thing that's happened. So yeah, basically, because it was that, and then this happened, and now I forgot my point.
You started with the Hydra a while ago.
Yeah, because
you were basically saying how like essentially CG&G has like.
Because we were talking about CIA stuff.
That's why you're
Yeah,
here.
but then
Great
you
job,
were also
Carolina.
saying, you were also saying how like the Chapitos are like not doing.
Yeah. So we talk about this whole like CIA thing, right? About how you said, you have to crack a few eggs to have
Make an
shells
omelet.
or what? Yeah.
What'd you say? Leave the shells? That's tough.
Sorry, I'm not good with like idioms like that.
Okay.
So I usually just make them up. So anyways, yeah, you talk about that whole like CIA thing. This could be like a great example of that because now you basically have one cartel controlling all of Mexico, and you can use that to your advantage. A cartel controlling all of Mexico that is one of the most violent cartels in history, I would say, next to like the Zetas, and then a kingpin, El Mencho, who is completely under the radar.
Yeah, Johnny was talking about him the other day. Like that guy's. Oof.
And people are like, dead or alive, dead or alive. Obviously alive.
Yes.
Definitely sick.
Do you think he's another one? This is total speculation. I'm not asking you on like a reporting basis and having actual information. But do you think it's possible that's another one who could be propped up like an El Mayo was propped up? Meaning like he's allowed to exist by intelligence organizations?
Honestly, I don't want to get into like the conspiracy of it because I don't like that. That's not how I do my reporting. But just based on the nature of how all of this is happening, if that were the case, it would not surprise me.
Yeah.
Like I wouldn't be like, holy shit.
Yeah.
I'm not saying whether I think that is or not the case. It's just a matter of they have gained so much fucking power and control, and the way that CJ&G is operating is so next level compared to even like previous and current cartels. It wouldn't surprise me.
I think what we've also learned though, looking at the past 7-8 years, I guess starting with El Chapo and now seeing El Mayo, the whole like kingpin strategy
does not work
at all.
Zero.
It creates a vacuum. Even if that cartel that you take the kingpin,
it creates a hydra.
Right. If that cartel, like let's say in this case Sinaloa, gets hurt and loses a lot of influence because you took out your kingpin, one of the other cartels comes in and just takes up all the power.
Dude,
it's the same shit.
Yeah, even if we do like kingpin strategy where it's like, okay, let's turn them all against each other and have them knock themselves out, they're not going to cease to fucking exist.
Right.
And we know that when you fragment the cartels, they all start to become part of the existing powerful cartel, which makes that cartel even more powerful because now they have more national control across the republic and internationally.
So how do you take them out?
Okay, I have two ways how to take them out.
You chart this out at night. I can see you like every night. Like I got this.
I do like I manifest.
Put me in charge.
Yeah. Make me the border czar. Yeah. So basically, well, okay, I obviously pretext here. I'm not an expert, and I obviously don't know if this would work or whatever. But I think that the main ways to literally end the cartels or at least weaken them would be to target mainly and first and foremost their financial pipelines. Like you really have to crack down on the asset seizures, the like freezing bank accounts, everything, making sure that there is no way for them to launder money, making sure, they can't even use remittance apps, they can't use cryptocurrency.
Remittance.
Like money
right,
transfers.
Right.
Yeah. To actually move this money around and launder it. Neither of those things can happen. Second, you need to completely destabilize their team efforts, recruitment. You need to stop the propaganda. Because
they're using like TikTok and shit, right?
We could pull some up right now. Well, I don't know about that.
Yeah, we don't want to we'll get demonetized.
No, yeah,
but like,
and I'll. So. We laugh and we cry later.
Yeah.
So the propaganda is a huge one because they've infiltrated every single aspect of Mexican and international culture. I mean, you have the narco corridos, the corridos tumbados, trending on Apple charts in Mexico, but also in the US. So if you have this kind of music that's basically being like, yeah, El Mencho's my number one dog and 4 letters until the day I die and let's fucking go and get the scar and and you got a good beat behind it. I mean, I'm going to listen to it while I do my makeup, but I'm not going to go and be like, oh, this sounds great. Let me go join the fucking cartel. But you do have a lot of young and impressionable and vulnerable people who are listening to that and thinking, I want this lifestyle. So then what are you doing? You're promoting this sense of, we have a community and you want to be a part of it, then you can feel validated and you can be a tough guy too and be strapped up and be cool as fuck and make a ton of money just like us. If you end that propaganda, you end that sense of validation in the organized crime world, people won't want to be recruited. Like if they don't have that propaganda. I mean, some will, but it takes away a huge part of it. And if you don't have money and if you don't have people, what the fuck do you have? Fentanyl precursors, great. Do what?
Right. But right now, it's effective because the economic opportunity and they see the people who carry the gun, who have power, and they got the money, and they're like, first you get the money, then you get the power.
Then you get the bitches.
And it's like,
women.
they've
what
all,
is, what
yeah,
is
then you get the women.
Yeah,
that's exactly right.
Then
like,
you get Michelle Pfeiffer in a green dress coming down the elevator.
See, you already know. Like, that's when you're a 15, 16-year-old impressionable kid, and when you've grown up in areas where this is the norm.
And everyone around you is doing it. And you don't even have the resources to do anything else.
Right.
Then what are you going to do? That.
It's like you have to... I hear you. Of course, take out the financial pipelines. We got to talk about some of the other ways they're creatively making money right now, by the way.
Oh, yeah. We'll get into that.
The crude oil, all that shit. That
Love
shit's
the crude
crazy.
oil.
But, like, yes, break that all down. Yes, try to take out a bunch of big guys and not allow a vacuum to come in. Good luck with that, though. You are still going to have the problem, though, of kids who have only known this environment, and that's still their only opportunity. So even if things get tougher, they're going to be like, well, it's better than the alternative.
Yeah, but I think we talked about this last time, is that it's nowadays not just like in like the 90s and early 2000s where it was mostly like low-income kids who were growing up around this and wanted to be a part of something and needed money that were getting into it. Now you are seeing kids coming from wealthy families with resources that want to be a part of it to be cool. And we did actually talk about that last time. Yeah. You have the, are they called the chiquinarcos?
Chicken narcos?
Chiquinarcos. I think that's what they call, I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure.
How do you spell that?
Chiki or Q?
Oh, chiquinarco. Okay.
Chiquinarcos. Right. I'm pretty sure that's what they call like the kids who come from money and want to join the cartels. I could be wrong.
Yeah, but see, either way, it's so strange.
I mean, it's just like fresas.
Yeah.
It's just like what?
Fresas, like
the rich kids of Mexico.
Yeah, like
that's what they call
like
them,
the
fresas?
preppy.
But I'm talking particularly about the people who come from, like, they don't need to do this, but they want to be a part of it because it's cool, and we see that happen a lot in Culiacan and Sinaloa, where, you know, you want to be tough, you want to be a part of this group. I mean, that's like how it is with any sort of gang, anywhere around the world, but. You were saying something that led me to
No. I all I was saying is on the recruitment, like, it's gonna take 1 or 2 full generations
for sure
to get rid, like, and of perfection of cracking down. Think of all the political turnover in our country, Mexico, and all these other places.
Well, this is like in an ideal world too.
In an ideal, exactly.
And also, like, attacking all of the financial pipelines would just, it's like virtually impossible, because also they adapt as authorities move. So they would just find new and better, more improved ways that the government has no idea, or maybe they have an idea but they don't know how to tackle.
What are all the ways the cartels are making money right now? Obviously drugs, duh. Human smuggling, duh. They're doing the crude oil thing.
Yes.
Before we get to that, are there a bunch of... They're also
agriculture, like pimping. How do you call that? Like when you're...
Prostitution.
Yeah, prostitution. Yeah. Like, so
Gambling, they do that too.
The casinos, yeah. And then automobile parts and like the car industry, because that's also huge in Mexico.
Loan sharking probably too.
Yeah, that too. I mean, the list could go on.
Right. It's a long list.
It's a long list.
They
basically have their hands in anything that makes money.
They also have legitimate businesses too
Yes.
that they invest in because, why not?
Of course, I would do that too.
Yeah, Mexican cartels. Oh yeah, we talked about this last time. The avocado
the Super
boom.
Bowl.
Every time I look at an avocado now, I'm like,
every time you eat an avocado, you tell me.
I know.
He's like, just got an avocado, thinking of you in the cartels.
That's happened a couple times. Yeah, crude oil smuggling has emerged as a significant revenue source for cartels like CJNG, Sinaloa, and Gulf Cartel, who have been implicated in stealing. I want to talk about Gulf Cartel later too. Remember that. Who've been implicated in stealing oil from Petróleos Mexicanos, Pemex. This stolen oil crosses the U.S. southwest border, finding its way into the hands of small U.S.-based oil companies. So Johnny was telling me about this for the first time. And like they literally, like there was one, they arrested like a Mormon family for doing 2,800 trips of stolen oil for like $300 million or something.
Yeah, I mean, if I was Mormon, what else?
Like what the fuck?
Got nothing better to do.
Like this is huge. They're making. I mean, it looks like they're making billions of dollars from this.
Yeah, it's like more than $3 billion a year.
Oh my god!
They're like after human smuggling and drug trafficking, it's their highest stream of revenue, and they're literally.
How new is this?
It's not new at all.
Yeah,
it's been a thing. Yeah, it's certainly been a thing, and we've seen a lot of tragedies happen across Mexico where the same pipeline that's been tapped into illegally too many times explodes and just devastates an entire town, and people are suffering from lifelong burns or they're like fatal. And a lot, we've known National Guard, local police are paid off so that they can run these operations. And they're basically, well, actually 3 alleged members of CJ&G were just sanctioned by the U.S. for running a major crude oil fraud, I guess you would call it, where they were.
Look that up. Yeah.
Yeah, it just happened, and they were basically stealing the oil, putting it into these tankers, driving it into the U.S. labeled as waste oil, and smaller American oil refineries.
Like, let it through. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, well, let's take the waste. Smaller American refineries were buying it from them because it's a cheaper price.
Okay.
But these guys didn't face any implications.
Father, son indicted on charges smuggling crude oil, supporting Mexican cartel. Let's go down. Yeah, I think these are the Mormons.
Oh, these are the Mormons?
Yeah, 2 Utah men with ties to South Texas company face federal charges for allegedly supporting the CJNG cartel, a designated terrorist group. All right, go down, Joe.
And maybe there's maybe another case of
this.
Maxwell
Sturt. Yep. James Lyle Jensen and Maxwell Sturt. These are the Mormons.
Okay, because the one that I'm talking about, it's 3 Mexican nationals. There's another one. Pull it up. It's amazing. 11 National Guard members were caught in the act stealing the crude oil. Yeah, this one's a good one. And then they tried to say that they were actually trying to protect the pipeline.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, it was
4 days ago.
That's right. 11 members of Mexico's National Guard charged in connection with fuel theft ring. Let's go down. All right, they were formally charged in a fuel theft case a week after they were caught extracting fuel from an illegal tap using official patrol vehicles. Guanajuato. All right. Guanajuato Interior Secretary Jorge Jimenez Luna confirmed the charges during an interview with Telediario Nocturno. He said a federal judge charged the soldiers with hydrocarbon theft, a crime commonly known in Mexico as huachacol.
Yeah.
Today, we were informed they were formally charged. They are in federal prison. If someone acts improperly and belongs to a corporation, the full weight of the law should be applied according to Proceso. A judge also ordered preventative detention for the 11 National Guard members. They were transferred to Federal Social Readaptation Center number 12 in Ocampo, Guanajuato. Jimenez Luna emphasized that illicit acts committed by authorities or federal armed forces will not be tolerated. Good for them.
So, well, they get paid like nothing. So the problem though with the huachicol, the oil theft,
Right.
is that it's obviously not an illicit substance. It's not like fentanyl.
Right.
But it still does lead to, well, it's organized crime, so it will lead to tragedy and death. And this is a major problem in Mexico, where they will improperly tap into the pipeline, or they will tap into the same pipeline too many times, and it explodes, and then people do die.
Yeah.
And innocent people have nothing to do with it. Because like a whole pipeline, it explodes, it runs through a whole area. You know, it's not just an explosion in that condensed area. So this is very problematic, and truth be told, there's really no crackdown on this at all, even though it's one of their most profitable operations.
Crackdown on that side of the border, or like
both?
On both.
I would say
the
both.
United States is not.
Well,
you don't
because
think has made an effort here.
Well, because tell me this, Julian. We look at that example of the Mormons, and then there's that other one that I mentioned of the 3 CG&G guys, the Mexican nationals. But where in that article do they mention anywhere about the American refineries that were buying that oil from them?
Nowhere.
Exactly.
Thank you guys for checking out this clip. If you haven't already subscribed, please subscribe and hit the like button on this video. It is a huge, huge help. And if you'd like to check out this clip's full podcast episode, that link is in the description below or right here. And finally, you can follow me on Instagram and X by using the links in my description below.